Dwayne Johnson really did a good job. The other day I got to see The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. Directed, written, and produced by Benny Safdie, I believe it's pronounced, who also worked on a film, Uncut Gems, which I really did like. And this film was also published by A24, known for making the best movies ever. At least most of the time, the best movies. So I said a while ago in a video that The Smashing Machine was actually a film that I was really looking forward to, because it's going to be one of the only times where I see Dwayne Johnson, or The Rock as you may know him, play a very serious and dramatic role for a film. Now, he's had some dramatic and serious roles before, but the majority of them are very cartoonish and goofy, and half the time, or pretty much the majority of the time, he's just playing himself. You'd be surprised of how many actors who are in a lot of bad movies who really just play themselves, when they actually are given like some material that's really good, they actually can be some really good actors, and I'm really glad that Dwayne Johnson decided to do this film, and honestly, this role was meant for him. The Rock doesn't really have any other films out this year, so this is really his one only chance for the year, and as you guys probably already know, this movie isn't making the biggest amount of money, but thankfully The Rock isn't like coping about this as he usually does. You know, you're never gonna know what's gonna happen with films. You can never predict the market, and I'm glad he responded like this, because trust me, it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, I really am glad to see him actually, you know, take a very humbling role. I kind of want to call it humbling. Maybe this could be somewhat of an eye-opener to executives out there that you don't really need to put that much money into films, and you don't really need to be paying large amounts of money to one person. It's okay to make a short-budget film. And overall, as we'll get into it, I really did like this film, and there's some things I want to talk about. So the film stars Dwayne Johnson, or The Rock. I'm probably just going to call him The Rock for now. The Rock plays Mark Kerr, a real-life UFC fighter who is this ass kicker. He was really talented. He was undefeatable at one point, and we follow the story where he gets to fight in this tournament. I believe it's called Pride. That's held in Japan, where there's going to be a bunch of other fighters from all around the world, and, you know, he needs to overcome his issues and rise to the top and win, because that's what the main character wants to do, and, you know, who wouldn't want to win? There's some life-changing money on the line for this plot. As I mentioned, this is a real-life story. It's like a telling of it, so when it comes to things like the story, it's really hard to really judge this aspect of it, because it's like they're telling a true story. Now, I do know there are some films out there that, you know, dramatically over-exaggerates things, and I don't think they did it for this film. I didn't really look into it, and if they did, I don't think it really mattered. I will say the story definitely focused around Mark the majority of the time, and his partner, played by Emily Blunt, is this woman named Dawn, and the story doesn't really focus on her that much, and there are times where the plot makes, you know, Mark Kerr's character like the victim, and it really would be helpful if we got perspective of Dawn, and this all really leads to me wanting to talk about the pacing of this film. I thought the movie had good pacing, but there were times where the movie just speeds up just a little bit, then it slows back down, and I swear there's times in the theater where I was like, did I miss something? Did something happen that we missed? And as Mark Kerr is going, you know, throughout this championship, he's kind of like addicted to this painkiller medicine, and this plays into his struggles and what's going on throughout the plot. This is kind of like, you know, the main antagonist, if you will say, but it's more like he's battling himself in addiction and trying to overcome it to, you know, get ready for this fight. And this puts strain on him and his relationship, and it affects both of them. But we really don't get to see Dawn's perspective that much. The movie makes her seem like she's the bad guy a lot, and it really would have helped if we got some extra scenes to explain, oh, how this relationship got to this point. Because their acting was pretty good. I'll just talk about that. Dwayne did a really good job. Emily Blunt did an amazing job. They both had really good chemistry. At least that's what I was getting. But I really would have loved to see more of Dawn's perspective, because, yeah, it's just, she's in the film really not that much. There is one scene where she's hanging out with a friend, and that's really just the only time we get to see her point of view and how she's struggling with this battle and having to deal with a partner that's going through all this. But yeah, just that small thing it really should have fixed. The music and soundtrack was pretty good. It kind of reminded me of One Battle After Another, where you just had this like soft jazz being played throughout the film, and it was very random at times, and it did play well. It's not something too crazy good, because again, it kind of just reminded me of One Battle After Another, but it did its job. I will say there was times where the audio mixing and or editing was kind of weird. Like there were some sounds that was kind of like blasted, and I have no idea if that was because of the theaters, which holy shit, I mentioned before, but movie theaters are just falling apart at this rate. When we got there, our theater was like green and blue, like there was no red or yellow in them, so some guy had to pause the film and fix it. It's just crazy, these theaters, man. We did get a good amount of action in this film. You know, of course, we get to see The Rock beat people up, and he got his ass kicked too. It was kind of funny seeing these guys, like, not as tall as The Rock, but, you know, kind of his height, but not as buff as him, just beat the shit out of him. Obviously, he's playing a character that happened in real life, so he can't really just change history like that, or else people will know. But, yeah, you get some UFC in there. It's pretty entertaining. It takes just the right amount of time of the film because this is kind of a dramatic story. The story isn't really about the fighting, it's more about the character. Speaking of which, all the characters I thought were pretty likable. Mark Kerr's character is really good. Obviously, he is a real person. This movie is just portraying him, and I do like his character and his character arc that he goes through. There's times where he has wins and loses with his addiction, and he overcomes them. He learns a lot of important lessons throughout this film, so he's a pretty likable character. There's really not many other people in this film, so, well, that's actually not true. There is Mark Coleman, played by Ryan Bader, I believe it's pronounced, and he's this coach to Mark Kerr. I just realized they're both named Mark. Holy shit, that's going to be confusing. But yeah, he's this coach to Kerr. He helped him train a lot, and he's also his best friend. There's a bunch of times in his films where he goes to him, and they both rely on each other, and they're both really best friends, and throughout the film they wanted to really show that these two are good friends even to this day. But they're also competing in the same tournament together, so there is that whole like who's gonna win, or like is it gonna be me or is it gonna be my best friend that you have to worry about when watching the film for the tournament. I want to slightly go back to the acting part. There was one thing that The Rock could have done better, and that's his crying. I know he's a big tough guy, he's probably not used to crying, and I don't know, maybe he watches something that really gets him all tearied up, but his crying was not believable, and that's not to take too much away from him. Everything else he did in this movie, he actually did a really good job as far as acting. It's just he's not a really good crier, which is kind of hard in of itself. Like, not everyone can really cry act, so if he could really just get better at that, he could really be, he's like up there with some of the actors. He's pretty decent. And like I said, I always believed in The Rock. All he had to do was just get in a serious ass movie. I always believed in The Rock. I definitely never criticized him in his acting before. There wasn't really animation in this film, but they did a really good job with the set designs and practical effects. Like, The Rock definitely looked like Mark Kerr, and the fact that I heard he had to go through some weight loss or muscle loss, so that was pretty cool that he did that. The movie really did a good job with portraying him and all the actors and the real life people. There was some good lighting, good camera work, good editing. Nothing that really stands out that I remember too much. The movie definitely feel intense at times, like especially during the fights when you're like, oh shit, that's happening. And you're definitely anticipating like things happening. Like, the movie does a good job of like getting you all riled up, and then it just goes back to these calm scenes. The punches pretty much all looked real. All the like kicks and flips and pounds and smashes that they all did, it definitely looked really real as modern movie makes them. I will say it's pretty funny to think like a guy pretending to beat the shit out of The Rock is really funny, because in real life, I mean, obviously that would never happen. Or it could be wrong, I don't know. There was this moment in the film where everything came to like a boiling point where it was just all about to explode, but I don't want to give away what happened, but it would have been better if the pacing helped it out a bit. It involves Mark Kerr and Dawn in their relationship. There's this moment where it gets really fucked up and really bad, and I don't want to say anything about it, but it just explodes at one point, and I really wish the film did a better job of leading up to that point where it's like, oh, that's why this character did this, and that's why this character did this, and that's why it led to this moment. But like I said earlier, they don't really do that. The movie does teach a few things about overcoming obstacles like this and trying to be the best, and things like trusting in your friends and supporting them and being happy for them. I think that's one thing they wanted to really tell for this story. Yeah, overall, that's really all I want to say. For this film, I want to give it an 8 out of 10. It's really good, actually. There's only just a handful of things that's really not that great, and I definitely can see them really fixing it. I wouldn't watch this again, not because I don't think it was anything worth watching. It's just one of these types of films I don't really like watch too much because I now know the story. But I would definitely recommend people watching this, especially if you want to see The Rock do something that's not goofy for once. I do think it's entertaining, it's fun, it's energetic, there's some good laughs here and there. It's a pretty good story. It tells a lot of interesting things about what goes on with people just like Mark Kerr. And yeah, it's just pretty nice. And A24, The Rock, and the director, the writer, because he did both, they did all a great job, especially The Rock. Like, seriously, he did a great job. I always give him shit. I was lying, of course. I always give him shit for his type of roles in films, but really, he did a good job. And people really should watch this movie. It's not making the biggest splash right now in the box office, which is unfortunate, but this did come out at a time where no one's really going to the movies. It's this weird season of the fall where nothing really happens. It's just after summer and right before Christmas. So hopefully get some more buzz. And hopefully The Rock will be fine because this is his only film. So, I mean, I don't know. He's a millionaire. He got other businesses. But yeah, we'll see him in Moana remastered, live action. But yeah, what do you guys think? That's all I want to say. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Smashing Machine if you've seen it. That's it. Goodbye.